Hey, what's going on, everybody? And welcome to another episode of Legacy's Journey, where we talk about creating what outlives you. I'm your host, Cameron Williams, owner of Kinley Consulting, where we focus on strategic financial growth for marketing agencies so that they can live the dream life they deserve and not be a slave to their business. And we do that through accounting and CFO services, tax strategy, a whole bunch of different things. So, y'all know the drill. We're on season 2. And I told y'all this year we was doing it bigger, better, just everything. We had to go tap into our network, friends of friends, and we had to just start asking, like, hey, who are some of these companies that are already at $1 million run rate? Who are some of these people that support them, whether that's operations, whether that's sales? Who are the coaches that coach these people? And so, I had to do some digging. And somebody was like, hey, there's this one guy, he's pretty cool with sales, he's pretty unique. Met him at a mastermind event, I think back in like April. I feel like it was April. And so I was like, we got to make this happen. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'm introducing to you guys Lee Goff. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, man. It was wonderful meeting you at that mastermind out there. And tell you what, Karen and JC do a great job with that mastermind. It's an impressive group of people for sure. So
it is. All right. So you got to tell the people who you are, name of the company, how long you've been in the game, and what do you do that makes you special or set apart from everybody else?
All right. Well, I am a serial business owner. It all started at the age of 12, literally started at the age of 12. Still a good buddy of mine. His name's Matt. He was my first business competitor, man. So we would run around the neighborhood, seeing him get the most grass cuts, right? So we were out there literally on our bikes, pedaling around and trying to see how many yards we can get to cut. And it all started there. And it honestly just never really slowed down from there. Jump ahead, high school, college, all that fun stuff. And eventually start my first agency when how old was I? I was 27 or 8. It's a couple years after college. And that was actually Get You Wired. It's that painting right here over my shoulder. Kind of hard to see here. But and that agency started it in 2012. I sold it successfully in 2016. It was a multi-million dollar agency, entrepreneur winnings, partner of the year, tons and tons of awards. Very proud of a lot of that. Not because of what the awards said about me, but it was more like technology partner of the year, meaning we were helping the partners out more. As those awards were for what we were doing to help other business owners, right? So then from there, I sold that agency. I had some health issues and went through some personal stuff. I ended up getting a divorce and actually had a heart attack. And so it kind of, God has a funny way of coming down and humbling you and showing you that, sometimes you need to slow down, right? So that's what I did. I leaned into being a single dad and still being a business guy. I couldn't help myself. So I started my coaching business about a year after I sold my agency. And I've been doing that for 8 years now. I'm trying to think about that. Yeah, 7.5, 8 years now. I'm a little different than a lot of other coaches out there. I'm very hands-on, one-on-one. I don't really care about coaching 5,000 people and maybe moving the needle for 2 people. I want to coach 10 people and move the needle for all 10 of them, right? That's just kind of what makes me happy. That's what my purpose is to physically change the life of the people that I work with. That's why I only work with just, again, 3, 4, maybe 5 people at a time, very, very limited kind of coaching. And I also started an Airbnb business. I had kind of got lucky not lucky. I just found a great deal on a very nice house on the lake. Actually, Lake Lanier, you're in Atlanta, all about Lake Lanier. It's, some pretty premium, pricing up on the lake out there. And I got a good deal on it. And it was about a 4,200 square foot house for me and my daughter, which is dramatic overkill. So I actually invested in it and I partitioned 3 separate sections out of it. And I turned it into a resort, right? I turned it into an Airbnb resort. And that was awesome. It generated, between $3,000 to $6,000 a month in income. It literally paid for the house. And I actually just sold that house in December for a little shy of about $1 million and came out, very well on that. And now my next venture is obviously still doing the coaching. But I've invested in 2 agencies. I own the portion of a smaller agency in Alabama, and I own a portion of an agency up in New Hampshire that's developing a NASA AI model. We just got $3 million from NASA, and so we're unbelievably excited about that. And I'm developing 11 acres in Dahlonega, Georgia, up there by Wolf Mountain Vineyards in wine country up there. I'm not sure if you know where that's at, Cameron, but it's beautiful up there. And I got like 780 feet of national forest property line, and I'm just going to, over the next 10 years, develop that land, keep coaching, and most importantly, the number one thing I love doing is being a single dad to my daughter, right? Going to all of her swim, band. She now wants to start learning how to play golf, so we're playing golf, and church camps and mission trips and all the stuff that comes with that, right? So there's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So it's a lot, but I try to stay busy around here. So
Okay. See, he was laughing at me before, y'all. So he was like, "Oh man, I saw some of your questions. I studied. I got answers." And I was like,
well, I like to be prepared. I try to be, not always, but I try to
respect that." But I'm like, those questions are more so if we get stuck. Typically, somebody's going to say something in the intro that's going to make you pause and say, "Whoa," and you did that. So
okay.
let's recap this because you said a lot of good stuff in here that I want to jump into. All right, y'all. And we all know, everybody knows at this point, we take notes because all these guests are geniuses. All right, so just to recap, had $1 million agency, sold it.
Yep.
Went through some personal stuff.
Yep.
Started a coaching business after.
Yep.
I love this quote. I would rather coach 10 people and move the needle for all 10.
Absolutely.
Than have 5,000 and only move the needle for 2.
Yep.
Has an Airbnb business that did very well. Got a lot of equity in the house and sold that.
Yep.
And here's the other thing. So now, still with the coaching, now he's invested in 2 other marketing agencies. He's invested in real estate, and he's doing all this while being a solid parent. Now,
absolutely,
we got to break this down for the people because you have some people, which you know this because you're coaching them, they're struggling just to get to 500 grand, or they're struggling to get to their first million. You've not only already done it, but you sold the company. So let's go into that. So going back to the first company, what were some of the things that you put as a priority to make sure or to ensure that you got to that $1 million run rate? Because a lot of people will tell you, oh, it's hard.
Yep.
I don't know how to do it. It doesn't make sense. I'm just working my butt off and I can't get there. Then you'll have some people, the people who've made it and done it, who are like, it's not as hard as you think. It's a lot easier. You just need to do.
Exactly. Well, first, let me get started on making your first million is 10 times harder than making your second million. Okay. I think anybody who's ever built a successful business, that first million, man, you're literally kind of figuring out as you go. Right. And so a lot of what I'm about to say, okay, I did not know in the first few years of my agency. There's an old saying that I love in business: most overnight successes take 10 years. Well, that's because you have to mature as an agency, as a business owner, right? You have to understand where to put your efforts and how to hire people and how to inspire them to do things when you're not around and all these different things. And that leads me to the pieces of advice that I give everyone now. Okay. The biggest thing that I see, and this is a unique to each individual. So this is not the best answer, but it's the truth, is head trash. We all have what's called limiting beliefs. We have a tendency to get in our way. We have certain perceptions that our dad said about money way back in the day, or your first coach told you, and he or she might have been wrong, or you took it the wrong way. But we have what's called limiting beliefs. And so hiring a coach that has walked the mile and can help to remove those limiting beliefs will be the thing that will catalyst your agency past a lot of the hard things. Okay, now let's get some tangible, like real tangible. What, Lee? Okay, that's great. That's theoretical. Without going to a shrink, how the hell do I do that? Let's get to some real world tangible stuff. Okay, first and foremost, productization. If there's ever a singular thing that you can do to make your life 1,000,000 times easier as an agency owner, that is, do not constantly sell bespoke or custom products. It will back you into a corner. And quality of life, meaning once you sell a custom thing, okay, it's hard at first to have 10 people that can do all that. So guess who gets stuck going back and doing a lot of that? You do, okay? So you back yourself into a corner, both personally, like your time commitment, and profit-wise, right? And so now you're kind of backed into a corner. So make sure you get a solid product line. Now, when I say this, this is one of those limiting beliefs. When I say that, a lot of people are like, whoa, man, I like the custom shit, man. That stuff's cool, man. And it is cool. Ain't nobody saying you're going to stop doing custom. I'm just saying have a product line to sell. Okay, because let me give you an example. Whenever you don't have a product line to sell and you just sell a custom service, well, then they perceive that to be your product line. That's not like an advanced or a super advanced service. That's just the run of the mill stuff. But if you have a website off the shelf, like we do in my agency in Alabama, it's a 10-page website. It's a templated website. Okay, they have to provide the copy. It's $3,000. It comes with it's very detailed out. You got to contact us for it. It's beautiful. It's a great deal. Actually, it's a great deal for everybody. It really, really is. We just streamline the process. Now, if I offer to sell them that, and then all of a sudden, no, I want something custom. Do you think they're going to think custom is going to be more expensive or less expensive?
More.
Obviously, right? So now that I set the baseline with a templated style website, if they want custom, they're expecting to pay 6, 7, 10, 20 grand because it's custom. But without having a product line to compare that to, they would have assumed it would have been $3,000. Rightfully so, they would have assumed that, okay? So having a product line that guarantees profit, gives a compare contrast to your upper scale bespoke type services is an absolute game changer, okay? That makes everything easier when it comes to hiring a team to deliver these products, when it comes to scaling that team, to putting project managers in there. Your stress, you can standardize the entire deliverable. And again, I want to reiterate, a lot of us get caught up in doing the custom stuff. So just by having a product line is not going to hamper your ability to do custom stuff. It's going to allow you open up another line of revenue to drive $500,000 in product sales plus $500,000 in custom stuff, right? So instead of just doing the custom stuff and being backed into a corner with low profit, now you got $500,000 on products that's on autopilot. You got a project manager that can pound that stuff out with their eyes closed because they've already done 20 of them back to back to back. Super easy, high quality, super happy clients, hosting fees on autopilot. If you're smart, you're getting those website care plans as well for $250, $300, $400, $500 a month. Now on that product side, you got 15, 20 grand of residual income coming in, and that frees you up to go hang out and do all the custom stuff you want. But if you start with custom and stick with custom hardcore, you're never going to have the freedom that products will provide you to. It'll fund and give you the freedom to go out and do the stuff you'll really love. I tell my daughter this all the time. I'm like, here, baby, if half the time in this world you're having to do stuff you just cannot stand, but that half supports the other half and you love doing that other half, then that's a fair deal. That's a fair shake. That's better than most people in this world, honestly. Okay, most people in this world do 99% of the time, they doing shit they can't stand just to keep food on the table for their babies.
Yeah.
All right, that's the truth. That's the raw truth of it. So if half the time you're doing something you can't stand, but it supports your dream and your vision over here, then suck it up and do that. You know what I'm talking about? It's just the way life works, in my opinion. So.
Okay. All right. So that's a good one. So, all right. What's stopping you from getting to your first $1 million, which you said is way 10 times harder than making the second million?
Mm-hmm.
You said part one is the head trash, whatever those limiting beliefs are, whether it's you grew up thinking money was evil or your parents always talk bad about it or whatever.
Yep.
And part two is productization. Don't always be so quick to do custom things because they take up way more of your time.
Yep.
And typically, because they do that, you're going to mess up your own profitability for that project.
Yep.
Have something more streamlined that's pretty straightforward that other people on your team can do, not just you.
Absolutely. By developing a product line, it makes it 10 times easier to scale. You can teach anybody to develop, that website we sell over there. Again, it's ridiculously simple. And I'm telling you, we sell them. Hell, man, we'll sell 8 to 10 of those a month. You know what I'm talking about? I'm like, well, maybe not that. 6 to 8 of those a month, not including all the other stuff we do. That's just those are. And it takes me 30 seconds to do the proposal. I don't even have to talk to the project manager because we've sold them 100 of them. Right. So he just picks it up and bam, there he goes. The designer has already got 10 templates. She knocks the design out and 4 hours instead of 40 hours. You see what I'm saying? So everything gets so streamlined, right? And now you're really being able to serve the business community. And what's going to happen is on a lot of those products, they will come back and say, hey, man, I really love what you did there. Can you help me implement Go High Level? Or can you help me get some ads going? Or can you help me insert a higher level service, a custom type service, right? And now you can jack that price up, not because you're price gouging, but because you're finally getting paid what you're worth. Right, you're finally getting the $1.50 an hour, which is which most of us in this industry are worth. They just undervalue themselves because they don't have a compare contrast to a product line. So,
and I think another thing you said that was super key. You said now you have the process rolling. A lot of times, like even right now for us currently, like since we're out of tax season, thank you Jesus. What I'm doing is saying, okay, what went wrong during tax season, or what took too long, or where was I the bottleneck, or what was not efficient? This, like you said, you got to get those processes and those systems and those SOPs. Because I'm like, man, I was the only one who could do this and this. Mm-hmm. We happen to have a whole lot more of these this year. So, okay, who can be my replacement? What's the plan to train them? So this time next year when we get them, it's two of us that can do it, which means we can do twice as more, or get them and turn them around that much faster. So I love how you talked about emphasizing the efficiency of, hey, if we're doing the same, it's only 3 ways to do this website.
That's it.
You pick whichever one of the 3, but at the end of the day, this is the end result versus custom. Hey, you want the table leg which way and what kind of material? Hey, we do it this way, this way, this way, and that way we can guarantee the same type of excellent result. I love that.
Exactly. Absolutely. And by the way, if you're going to scale a business, this is the next thing. You do not try to hire someone to replace you. You actually replace yourself with systems and processes, and hire someone to manage the systems and processes.
Whoa. Time out. We may have just dropped a bomb. Okay.
Right. When you were saying that a while ago, because another big mistake is they try to hire someone to replace them. Right. Well, let me go ahead and tell you, entrepreneurs are irreplaceable. Okay, in your business, no one person is ever going to be able to come. It took 5.5 people to replace me when I removed myself from the CEO position in my agency. Where I think we're at $2.5 million or whatever like that. So it wasn't even a huge. I mean, it's nice, respectable, but it wasn't like a $22 million deal. Does that make sense? 5.5 people. That's no bullshit. I mean, that's how many people it took. Because I was trying to put people in those positions. And then I realized this. You actually have to build the systems to... My dog's having a dream. Can y'all hear her? Did you hear that, buddy? Sorry about that. My dog's having a good old dog dream.
You got a dog too.
Anyway, and so, you don't replace yourself with people. You replace yourself with systems and processes. And then you hire great people to manage those systems and processes. Right. Sorry, I'm trying to wake my dog up. She's starting to get a little loud over there. So,
anyway. Okay, don't hire someone to replace you. You replace yourself with systems and processes, and hire someone to manage
the systems and processes. Exactly.
Now break that down, because some people are going to be like, well, I'll use me as an example. So some people will say, if you're in accounting, oh, well, I need to find another bookkeeper. So that way I don't have to do the bookkeeping and I can just focus on tax. Then after a while, well, let me just hire another tax person. Now I don't have to do the bookkeeping or the tax. Mm-hmm. You're saying that's good, but the better way to do it would be...
Okay, so let me give you an example. A lot of times as an agency owner, we're kind of the thought leaders, right? So we're the ones that's dreaming up the creative ways to get things done, okay? Mm-hmm. Well, if you are always the person doing that, well, then you can't even bring a deal in until you talk to the client, until you propose to the client. And, it just bottlenecks everything. So instead of doing that, have what's called a discovery process. Okay. And that discovery process is very simple. It's like they go through a few different questionnaires, right? Those questionnaires are then compiled. And let me give you an example. It can be an SEO audit, a web design audit, a web conversion audit. Okay. And then it can be like we used to actually have what's called a web IQ exam. It's a true story. It had like 100 questions in it, and it would ask our clients do you know anything about AdWords? Do you do it? And it would go through this long list of discovery questions. Well, then they would get that to me, okay? And instead of me doing it, I would have someone sitting there with me and saying, okay, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm doing. And I'm training that person to manage the discovery process. So every time we had a new client come on board, they would all go through this discovery process. All that data would be compiled. And now I didn't have to do the proposals. They could look at the discovery process and go pound out a proposal, bring that proposal back to me for final approval, right? Which takes 30 minutes of my time instead of 6 hours of doing it. So what I just did is I took the thought leader out of having to go actually physically interview every prospect and put in a system that actually did it better than I could do it because I thought it through. And it's, again, I don't have time to get it all right now, but I can show you many, many different ways you could do that. And you can compile that data, and then you bring in someone and you train that person how to read the data and generate a report from that. A proposal from that data. Okay. Then that proposal, I look at it. Okay. And I take the proposal. I might want to go present it just because you might want to do that to help close them. Maybe you're the closer, or get the guy who did it and they come in, you close, and they shadow you for the first 5 or 6. But after that, they better be able to get in there and close based upon that final report. I just removed myself from ever having to generate a proposal again, ever having to sign a client, ever having to close a client, ever worrying about if the expectation levels are proper. All of that, all of those pain points, of which are an acute thing in most agency owners' day-to-day lives, okay? Okay, I mean, a lot of agency owners, I know, I swear to you, they'll spend 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 hours doing a proposal for a website they've probably done 100 times. It drives me nuts. This is one of my little pet peeves. I'm like, why would you do that? That is not a total waste of time, but having a super custom proposal is not going to help you win that deal. Rarely. It's about the value you bring and do they like you? Okay, if somebody has a 4 lines website over here that brings unbelievable value for what they want, they're going to go with that 4 lines. They're not going to go with a 42-page proposal. So replicate yourself through systems and processes. Another good example is new client onboarding. Okay.
Ooh, I just finished my SOP for this one, so let's see.
Okay, so this is very important. So in the new client onboarding, we had a very thorough questionnaire that got all of the login credentials. It introduced them to their project manager, explained to them exactly how we go about managing the projects. And I never had to be and then they would have what's called a PKO, a project kickoff meeting. Okay. And in that meeting, okay, the sales rep was not allowed. Very, very rarely would the sales rep ever be allowed to be in that call because it was our job in-house. Remember, we're a professional services company. We're not supposed to be making this shit up as we go. We're supposed to be a professional service company. We're supposed to have a professional level service. So sales rep sold it. Sales rep gets with project manager. They calibrate. By the way, this is where most scope creep happens. It's literally in this singular moment. Whenever the sales makes the proposal, hands it over to service, and the service really has no idea what the hell's in the proposal because they did not calibrate. They did not get on the same page. So now they calibrate, and it's that project manager's job to set that entire project up on a tee and understand that project intimately to go kick that project off. So sales does not have to be brought back into it, or ownership does not have to be brought back into it. It is a self-fulfilling process system that works like clockwork. We had 6 project managers, and we'd onboard, I don't even know, 15, 20 new projects a month, and I wouldn't even know who they were, and I'm the CEO because I was busy running the company, right? If you know every single one of your clients' names, that's the first red flag you should have right there.
That's your first red flag that you are what?
Too much in the damn weeds. You're not working on your business, you're working in your business.
All right, y'all, you heard. I didn't say it. The guy who's done a $2.5 million agency sold it and is now doing another business and then has 2 partnership interests in 2 other agencies.
Yeah, well, we serviced over 3,000 clients over 10, 11, 13, I can't remember, 13 or 14 years. Think about that. That's about impossible for you to know all of those people on a first name basis, right? And so if you're turning and burning, you know what I'm talking about? If you're building a business and you're onboarding 15, 20 clients that you never even talked to, meaning I had my lead generation systems in process. I didn't see the leads coming in. They went to my sales staff. They generated the proposals. They talked to the prospects. They sales calibrated. They handed off to the project managers. The only time I got involved is whenever there was a PR or, there was a bigger deal. There's a much bigger deal. You know what I'm talking about? And typically when I got involved, it was like a problem child. I'd come in and kind of make sure that they weren't beating up on my staff or being unfair or anything like that, but that's in one out of a five. It was very, very, very rare that ever happened. But the whole point is to remove yourself from the systems and processes so you can work on building the business, not in the business, and most importantly, go live a healthy quality of life with your family. You only get those young babies once, buddy. When they out the door, they gone. They ain't coming back. You understand what I'm saying? You ain't never gonna get them young days back. Okay, so that's what this stuff does. So.
Never gonna get them days back. And
You
see,
ain't never gonna get them back.
For somebody like me, I got an 8-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 2-year-old.
Oh yeah.
So to your point, it's like me and my wife have been talking recently. Like, man, I remember when the oldest was 2. You know, and it's like she getting tall, like she thinking on her own, and you.
Oh yeah. Now mine is she's 15, going on 32. Just she's got her learner's permit. Just bought her a Jeep, so I'm teaching her how to drive, and we're teaching her how to play golf. And she's a great swimmer. She almost made state as a freshman this last year, and so next year she's going to make state, and so I'm very proud of her. So rocking and rolling.
To your point, like I bet you're like, man, hey, she was 2. Like a month ago. Now she my height,
Yeah, and actually, you know what? Here, I forgot time, but I got a cool little story. I think it's a cool little story. I was actually a soccer coach, right? And I was a CEO of Get You Wired, and I'm working my ass off. This is, I don't know, man, 2011 was, I don't know, 11, 12, I guess, somewhere right around there. She was 4 years old. She's in the 4 to 6U, right, soccer league, right? And if you're not soccer or another, so I'm sure you're going through all that right now. And of course, being the dad I was like, I want to be the soccer coach. So I was the CEO of this larger company, and it consumed a ton of my time, almost all of my time. So I actually ended up I recruited an assistant coach because I knew I wouldn't be able to make every game, right? So I had some guy come in, another dad came in and helped. He was awesome. Don't get me wrong. Sure as hell, one day I get called in. Something happened. I might have to stay at the office late or something. I'm stuck in a meeting or something, right? Call the assistant. Hey, man, I'm so sorry, man. Fill in for me. I'll be there about 20 minutes after the game gets started, right? All this going down. This is a very common thing. This happens all the time to parents, right?
Many of business owners. That's fact.
That's just the way this game's played. So I get in my truck and I'm driving over to practice. I get to practice and I'm sitting on the sidelines. Assistant coach is going, what am I doing? I'm doing this. I'm on my phone, right? Answering the questions that I just left the office, still working right here. I was completely unengaged, completely disengaged. I'm the damn head coach. Don't forget, I'm the head coach. And my daughters are going to, the other team, the competitor scores. I stand up and go, yeah. Oof. That's not my daughter's team. I wasn't paying attention at all. I was completely checked out. Right. And that moment hit home. I don't know why. There's little moments like that in people's lives. For whatever reason, they land harder. That one landed with me. I was like, man, I am not present. You know what I'm talking about? I am not in tune. I'm not present right now. I'm physically here. I'm getting the brownie points. Daddy, I'm getting the smiles. But I'm not present. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying, hey, baby, your shoe's almost a little bit untied. Fix that real quick. I mean, like really present in coaching these kids. And I was like, man, I'm doing these kids a disservice. I'm doing me a disservice. I'm doing my daughter a disservice. And that actually, that led to me removing myself as a CEO and moving into a board of directors. It took 3 years to do that from that moment, along with my health issues and getting into there are other factors that played into that. But being present with your kids forces you to replace a lot of what you perceive you're the only person that can do in your business. Like I'm the only person that can do this, right? And a lot of those are perceptions. And if you work very hard to remove yourself from those, then you can become more present in your children, in your life, and your friends.
Well, but wait, you said something though. Hold up, because you said something super crucial. That was the moment. That was the light bulb. You said, but it also took you about 3 years to really get out. So just for the crowd's sake, like we don't want the audience to be like, oh, okay, well, I make 2 or 3 choices and I'm gonna be all the way out in a month. He just told you before he told us the story, like if you know every client's name, so that should be a flag or indicator like you're too deep into it. Now he's telling you, hey, to get out and be able to have it function without you. It's not an overnight thing. This is something that's going to take a while. You have to now go build these processes, SOPs, replace yourself with the right people or automations or AI. So can you talk about that? Because I'm sure, because I'm a parent, I know what that's like to You kind of there, like you there.
Kind of, right, exactly.
But I know vaguely, I know that we're at a soccer game. I ain't see that girl tripped you or whatever the case.
Yeah.
So, like, tell us about having had the moment and then, like, oh man, how do I get out of this? Like, what were some of those steps? Because we talked about building the systems, but even with that, you still had to have the right amount of sales to even hire quality people, etc. So, dig a little bit more into that so that people can really not just visualize and empathize with what you're saying, but now say, okay, he said he took this step and then he took that step.
Yes.
Like, give us those things so that way maybe we can help emulate that if that's where we're stuck.
All right. Well, so this is going to take a little while. This is not a short answer. So,
This is your episode. You can take however long you need.
I'm just warning you, man. I'm just giving you a warning shot there. Okay. So, and again, it wasn't just that moment, ended up going, my dad passed away. There's a lot of other personal things that kind of just went through a divorce and realized that my personal purpose, and you have a professional purpose and a business. You have a business personal and a personal purpose in life. If you don't know this, okay, your professional purpose is to help move the needle professionally, and mine is to actually help. I've actually helped 17 agency owners break the 7-figure mark while cutting their workload in half. Okay, in the past 6 or 7 years. Okay, now that is legit. I can get every one of them on the phone with you. They'll proudly. I've had them call me crying. Okay, come out, and so that's my professional purpose. That's what I do. Now, my personal purpose is to be a 10 times better dad than my experiences and like that. So I bring all that up because to replace your
business owners, that's crazy.
Yeah, and that's tangible. I can get you on the phone. I'm talking about, I don't mean like, these, we'll get into that later, but I mean, these guys were 200, 300, 400, 500,000, and now a lot of them are 2.8, 3.4, whatever. One of them just took a month off to go to the Bahamas without his laptop.
Which is what everybody says they want. So right. This is just his evidence to show y'all what he's about to tell you is what he's told them.
Yep,
that work. He's not telling you theory, speculation. This is what I heard or saw on TikTok. No. This is what I've not only coached people to do, but what I've done myself. We're ready for this.
All right, so here it is. First thing you have to do is you have to get leadership in place, okay? So I already I had done good hiring, okay? And so I had the people that were working for me in like employee/low-level management positions at the time. And so the reason they were there is because I have what was called a hero complex. Nobody can do it better than me. And this is a big deal in the agency space. That's a big deal. Okay, so first you have to address your hero complex. And I promise you have one if you've got any success, because you are the one that's always jumping in and saving everybody's ass. And it's awesome. That's good. But you got to realize that's the problem. That's actually the problem. So what I did is I actually handpicked 3 people, one of them to eventually become my COO. At this point in time, she was a senior project manager. She's pretty much a director of operations. I just had not given her the title yet. So I gave her a 2-year path to where this is the plan. We're going to get you into a director of operations, meaning you're going to start overseeing all of the project managers. You're going to start overseeing all the project kickoff meetings. You're going to start overseeing all the quality assurance, okay? And then I'm going to bring in somebody to take your role as a director of operations. I'm going to bump you up to COO. And this is all going to go down in 2 years. All right. And I worked with her to develop that. So don't think you have to go into some vacuum somewhere and dream all this shit up. That is not the case. If you got someone there with you, then you work together to build this out. Remember, I'd spent at this point in time 10 or 11 years digging this hole. Okay. Just wrap your brain around that. Okay. I spent every day, all day digging this hole. So if you think you're going to dig out of that hole in 10 minutes, you're very sadly mistaken. Okay. You got to dig out of that hole slowly and methodically. So get a plan. And if you need, I got all these documents and plans if anyone needs what that looks like. Okay. And then I went on to actually the sales side. And this side worried me more than any other side because, I mean, lead flow, those relationships, the revenue, all that starts in sales. Every bit of that starts in sales, right? And so this guy was my senior sales manager. He was pretty much, for the most part, kind of running the show already, and the same kind of process. After I got her, and it took 2 years because we restructured the accounting and all. all kind of stuff with the first one. Her name was Melissa. And the next one was a guy named Dobbin, and he was just a stud, you know what I'm talking about? So it took about a year to transition all of the sales responsibilities away from me methodically, month by month, right? Dobbin, let's get this off my plate. I need you to take this relationship. I'm going to go speak at this gig, but I want you to come with me, and I want you to introduce you so you can be speaking at this gig next year. That type of planning, right? Okay, it happened. And we did that over the course of the year. And in true fashion, Melissa rocked it out, and so did they. Both just crushed it. But I just didn't go to them and say, okay, it's yours. Good luck. Which is where a lot of people do. They say, okay, I did it. You can do it. That's not how this works. Remember, it's your vision. It's your dream. And by the way, you're the one that's going to sleep with their decisions going forward. So I would highly recommend that you be involved in every step of doing this. And don't try to do this overnight. Take a year to develop out that one position to get them into leadership. The next year, do that, or 6 months, whatever it was. Okay. If you're a $750,000 agency, you can probably do this in 6 months with each position. Okay. If you're $2.5 million, it's going to be a little bit longer. It's 9 months, a year kind of thing, right? That's just because, again, digging that hole, right? I kept digging that hole. And the last one was actually the easiest one. Bobby, he was like the chief technical officer. I'm not technical at all. I can't write one line of code. He was already doing it. I just wanted to make sure he had the KPIs in place. So for about 6 months, Melissa and I worked with him to get the KPIs around quality assurance, quality code, how we want our code commented out. In other words, there are certain ways we wanted our shit built. So that way, I hate to say it's kind of gruesome, but we had a saying, hit by bus. If any one of us gets hit by the bus, okay, what's going to happen? Meaning, if something catastrophic happens to me on the work, I have a heart attack, boom, drop dead in my truck while I'm driving to work. That business would have sank. It would have went under if we had not gone through this process, because they weren't empowered. I had not empowered. It wasn't because they couldn't do it. It's because I had the hero complex and I had not empowered them yet. Right? Does that make sense? So what you do is you basically, if you have a team of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people, which a lot of you do, typically you've got 1 or 2 people in there that are higher upper, they're higher tier, more leadership kind of quality, leadership type people. And those are the ones you start spending a lot of extra time with. Every morning you're meeting with them. Okay, this is what's on my plate. This is what's on your plate. What can you take off my plate? What can I help you with? It's all day, every day, back and forth. I mean, Melissa and I would talk God, all day, every day, like literally all day, every day, until eventually I got bored. I didn't have any project work to do. Matter of fact, I got banned. I couldn't go in there and mess up project work because I'd come in there like, oh, hero complex. No, do this. And Melissa would be like, man, you are totally screwing this whole thing up. We already had it done. And you totally just added 30 more hours on there because you want to be the fucking hero. And I'm like, damn. And after she busted me out on it a few times, I was like, man, that just cost me. I'd go run the math. Man, me stepping in that damn phone call for 22 minutes just cost me about $4,000 for being an idiot. Right? Okay. Hence why, as in the leadership, you're not supposed to be stepping off into the damn service processes a whole lot. You're going to have a tendency to mess them up. Not because you can't do the work, but because there were commitments and conversations and context already made for 6 months with the service department. You see what I'm saying? So okay. So, man, that's a long-winded answer. I hope I answered that question. But basically, pick your leaders, work with them personally, and groom them. And if you've got a ton of money, then you can go out and hire leaders to do this. Most agencies are having to do this with blood, sweat, and tears, and what I call a self-funded organization, meaning the money you make is the money you have to grow, right? You're not going to go out and get a $2 million growth loan, right? Or you're not going to have a VC just drop $1 million into your dad's not going to give you, we don't have those options. So we have to be smarter. So you pick that one that seems to come in the office a little bit early every day, that one that's always volunteering for extra projects, the one that's always asking the 1 or 2 extra questions just to make sure they don't screw stuff up. That's the one, even if they're 22, for the record. 2 out of the 3 people that I just told you, I hired straight out of college and were 22 years old when I started this process. They bought me out when they were 27, 28.
They bought you out?
Yeah. Those 2 and a third one.
Is that what the plan was?
No, not really, no. No.
That was the plan?
That was not really the plan. No, that really wasn't the plan, but just kind of, it evolved that way. I got to the point where, man, being a dad is going to take a lot more time with just, again, a lot of personal stuff. Honestly, I was kind of getting a little burned out on the agency world. I wanted to shift it up a little bit, right? So they were running it. I had retired. I had retired I worked 2 hours a week for about 2.5 years in that agency before I decided to sell it. So I was what's called a board of directors.
Okay.
And I
All
did all
right.
that. I did all that because I had put them in place. I could trust it. I came in every Thursday morning from 9 to 11, and I don't have it in front of me, but we had a KPI handbook. And so for 2 hours every Thursday morning, we'd go through all the numbers, we'd go through all the initiatives, what projects, what's going on, all these what's called SWATs and SMARTs and strategic plannings, and it's called a leadership framework, your accountability rhythms, and all that stuff. And then literally, I could run the company in 2 hours a week. I'd be out doing my thing. So.
All right, so here's how to move out your business. Address your hero complex because we all have one. We all think nobody can do it like I can.
That's a
And I've
true
been
story.
guilty of that. That's what I'm having to kind of work on and addressing now, in all fairness. Part 2, build you some type of leadership team. And the most important of, well, maybe not, but another important one would be give them a plan to replace you. I love how you said, I sat down and said, all right, this is a 2-year thing. At each point, I want you to be here doing or taking control of this. This is what it looks like. So I want you to be doing this, you hit this, etc.
Yep.
And I think that's super important because, like I said, even in my case in growing, that's what I'm having to do by saying, okay, like we were talking about earlier, I'm the only one who can do these specialized tax returns.
That's
okay.
right.
Well, if I know this person, she's a beast with it. Let me see if she's interested. Oh, wow, she's interested. So the next step, all right, what is a training plan? What does that look like? So that way, when we get the next January, we're not guessing. I'm sure she's going to make some type of mistakes. That's what you have a review process for.
Yeah, it's the nature of the beast. Yeah.
But to your point, okay, all right, hey, she's about to come up on her 2-year anniversary. Okay, maybe I can say, hey, because that's 4 months from now, I think. Hey, I want to elevate you to this position. So in the next 4 months, I need to see this, and I will gladly let you do. Or so those things are super important. So that, to your point, it's not just you. You don't get burned out. You're not just dreading to come to work.
Yeah.
And the systems will take care of it. So those are good things. Now,
Yep.
Let's jump into this part right here. Now, you said you've invested in 2 agencies currently that are doing well. So talk to us about what made these worthy of you investing in, because, acquisitions is hot right now. Everybody's like, oh, I want to be able to buy another agency. Well, there are some things that need to happen, not even on the person you're buying's, their situation, but even like you have to have the cash flow, you have to have the revenue to be able. So talk to us about, hey, what did you do to prepare to buy these companies or buy into them, and what made them attractive enough for you to want to buy into them?
Well, mine is actually a little bit different than your typical. What you're talking about is you're going through what's called the transaction process, right? And so funding and all of these different things. And I went through that from the other side when I was selling it. But these 2 deals were a little bit different. Both of them were actually coaching students of mine, right? And so I'd known them. Yeah, so one of them I had known for like 8 years and been a student for 7 or a long time. 7. Matter of fact, he was my very first coaching student in whenever the hell that was. Early 2017, so whatever that 7 years, almost 7.5 years ago. And he was burned out, and he wanted to sell to his operations manager, but he was worried that his operations manager did not come with the C-level leadership type experience and sales experience that would protect the buyout investment from both parties. Okay. And so they actually winded up making me an offer I couldn't refuse. And so I kind of just took them up on the offer and been doing that ever since, right? But it was a very low buy-in, so it wasn't a huge capital raise kind of scenario, right? The other one, again, a coaching student of mine for a year and a half, almost 2 years. And I actually just fell in love with his product. We talked about it a little bit at the mastermind, Sonar, the B2B lead generation Sonar platform. He's the guy that invented that product. I haven't worked for another man in almost 30 years. And so now I'm working with him. I am a partner in that firm, chief revenue officer in that firm, and help to drive revenue and help to onboard things. But what got me enticed into that one was a $3 million NASA grant for helping to grow the aerospace and defense industry in the state of New Hampshire. At the same time, it's a partnership between NASA, University of New Hampshire, And this agency is called Industrial Marketing to develop out the first what's called prime or program sourcing model. It's an AI model. And so I came on board to help harvest all the data for that, develop out the process for that, and all that fun stuff. So that one was a little bit more sweat equity, not as much money down, and actually no money down on that one. So these two are a little bit different. I had just decided, again, my coaching students become family to a certain degree. I mean, like, again, I'm working with 3 or 4 at a time. It's not like I have 500 that I'm trying to remember. So, and so just when the opportunities arose and they needed a little bit of extra experience, another leadership mind to kind of bounce things off of, they invited me into process and gifted me part of it and invested in other parts of it, things like that. So it's a little bit different in this context. So.
Okay, but there were still some. So, well, I was about to say there were still some things. Talk about, if you can. So you get into these companies now because you help coach them up. So you had a little bit of inside information.
Yes.
What were some of the first changes you wanted to make coming into each one, though? Because I'm sure you're like, it's one thing for me to coach you and you're being honest and telling me. It's another thing now that my money or time is invested, we're going to switch it up and do this.
Well, I'm still in the middle of some of these changes, so I'm not sure I want to. It's a good,
Can I answer your question? Okay, wait. I can ask you.
Hold on. Now, I'll answer that question. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to do was to get more leadership experience for the owner of the agency in Alabama, and also grow the book of business on the MRR, monthly reoccurring revenue. They had one big client that was kind of, made up about 30% of their total gross revenue. And so the first thing was to do, I call this what's called a silver bullet, meaning if that client has a bad day or gets hit by a bus and all that money dries up, then we got a big problem. And so we've been working on doing that, and we actually have replaced that. And that ironically, that client did start pulling back on stuff for a lot of different reasons. We still work with that client a lot, but I wanted to diversify revenue and get more leadership experience for the leadership team in that agency. That was the very first thing I wanted to do over there. And then the second thing on the other agency was, love him to death, but he does have a lot of head trash. He definitely has like the hero complex. So it's kind of working through some of that with him. And most importantly, developing out a product line, because he always kind of would sell things just kind of off the top of his head a little bit. Right. And so I wanted to come in and kind of help groom him into understanding that you can't be the hero all the time. You got to be the CEO, right? You can't innovate all the time, because CEOs manage systems and processes, and systems and processes should not change all the time. And if you want to innovate all the time, then you need to probably step down as a CEO and put me in as a CEO and let you go innovate and let you go do whatever you want to go do. But if all you're ever doing is innovating because you love new technology, you will hardly ever break through the 7-figure mark, because you're too busy changing your direction all the damn time. Okay. We just got a ton of money from NASA. We just got a ton of money from the federal government to make this thing awesome. So we got to focus on that. And so over there, my number one thing is to develop the product line, okay, that the entire team can go out and resell. And we're making huge progress. We're actually, I'm very happy with that. It's very much coming along very, very, very well. So very excited about that. So.
Okay. All right. So that's the 2 acquisitions. Now, you also talk about, I guess I want to get into the real estate, because, that's kind of a hot thing.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you want to invest in that real estate up in Dahlonega? Was this something you had always wanted to do? Did you think this was a good long-term play? What got you to that decision?
All right. So, this is a great opportunity. A friend of mine had it, and he was going through some health issues, and he was like, man, so he's kind of owner financed it for me, and it was in 2012, and I paid it off in 2020. And then I started looking at where I wanted to end up, where I want to, how much consulting and coaching, and how much do I want to be involved in that again? In 10 years from now, right? When I get, I'm 51 now, so when I'm 61. And so just looking at my retirement, looking at kind of winding down my career for lack of a better term. I want to have about 10 properties up there, free and clear, paid for, about $2.5-3 million worth of real estate assets that generates between $17,000 to $22,000 a month in passive income. Right. So understanding that's where I wanted to end up. I started like I said, owner bought the land from an owner finance guy in 2012, paid on it slowly, $1,300 a month every month for whatever it was, 8, 9, 10 years, right? Get it paid off. And then I had made a good investment in one in my first agency. I came out okay in that, and then selling the Airbnb business, it allowed me the capital to go ahead and start that project, which is a little earlier than what I'd wanted to do. I was probably going to start in a few years when I got a couple of the things lined up, but it all kind of fell into place where I could start it now. So I built like an $80,000 construction rig. It's a brand new Kubota, front end loader, backhoe, the full money. I built my own crew, the whole thing, right? And so that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to build all these houses my damn self. I've never built a house, but I'm going to figure it out. It's because it's a new project for me, right? And so by the end of, about this time next year, I'll have the first one done. It'll be about a 2,100 square foot, like barn dominium. Okay, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of barn dominiums. And it should appraise for about $275, $300. And I'm going to it's going to cost me about $1.50, $1.30 to $1.50 to build it because I invested in all the equipment and everything. So ultimately what drove it was, I want to have a place in the mountains, have a place on the lake, have a place on the beach. My sister has a place in Costa Rica. And so instead of having one big ass home, I'm going to have like 4 or 5 little bitty small pods, right? And so I'll have one on 30A down in Florida, Panhandle. And then I'll have one on Lake Lanier. I'll have one in the mountains. And then I'm going to, crash my sister's condo in Costa Rica a couple times a year too. So in accordance with the kind of quality of life that I wanted to have as I got older, right? I didn't want a lot of debt. I wanted some passive MRR, monthly recurring revenue coming in. And so I just went ahead and the market, as you know, Gainesville was actually in the USA Today, I think, for one of the hottest housing markets in the country, like for real. Gainesville, Georgia, no shit. That in Lakeland, Florida, okay, literally were the top 2 for a while. And I saw that and I was like, well, I can't pass this opportunity up, right? I just can't pass this opportunity up. And so it awarded me the cash to go out and start that forever home, forever passive income kind of thing, right? I'll always do coaching and consulting because I love it, but I don't want to have to always do it, right? I want to do it because I love it, not because I'm forced to do it. I want to have plenty of time with my daughter. I want to leave her a legacy. As a matter of fact, back to the point of this, the title of this podcast, my legacy is to hopefully leave her 11 acres on the Chattahoochee National Forest on the backside of one of the most popular vineyards in the country, North Georgia. Hopefully all paid for, generating about, like I said, right around $20,000 a month in income. And she wants to try to get into some missionary work and be heavily involved in ministry, right? And I'm like, well, you ain't gonna make a lot of money doing that. So I had to start thinking about that as a dad, right? So you know what I mean? I want her to be able to have a good quality of life, but I want her to be able to serve the Lord too. And so just taking all of those personal things and all the business things and kind of putting it all together, I just kind of mapped out the plan for me and my daughter and what kind of legacy I want to leave for my daughter. And that land in Dahlonega is very much it, right? So,
okay. Last question. If you had 30 seconds
mm-hmm.
to get in a time machine and go back to your high school or college self, what would you tell yourself? Knowing that you still know everything you know now.
Yep.
You just get to go back 30 seconds and say, hey, high school version or college version.
Buy Apple and Amazon.
That's cheating. You can't tell that part.
That's totally not cheating. Are you kidding me? I could have put $10 million in. Like, I have $50 million in the bank right now. So believe in yourself, man. Never give up. I didn't have too much problem in that, but that is a big problem with everybody else's. I knew at the age of 16 I was going to be an entrepreneur. I'm sorry, at the age of 12. But I told my parents, I'm probably going to drop out of college. I told them all of it. I told everybody in my family that I was going to be a business owner as what I was made to do. So have belief in yourself. And most importantly, I tell you what, let me understand that failure is a stepping stone to success. I have failed tens of thousands of times. I have literally been successful maybe 3 times. Okay? Failure is the next step on the ladder to success. Embrace failure. Don't go out there and seek it out. I'm sorry. Don't go out there and try to fuck it up or screw it up. That's not what I'm saying. Work very hard. Do the best you can, but failure is inevitable. You will fail 9 times out of 10, but it's the 10th time, okay, that you nail it, that matters. So embrace and believe in yourself. So, hey, that sounds like a big girl right there.
Bro.
Oh, little man.
So,
I missed those.
Legacy for Children. Look who has welcome. Okay,
Yep.
let's close the podcast first.
Well, let him help us close it out. Speaking of legacy, that's it. That's the wine. That's the wine right there, right? So,
all right. So let's close it out. So hopefully you guys got a ton of value here. Just to do a quick recap. So a big thing he talked about was making the first million is 10 times harder than making the second million. How do you make that first million? You have to get rid of that head trash. You don't want to always do custom stuff. Find a way to systemize or productize what you do. Don't just hire someone to replace you. Replace yourself with systems and processes first, and then hire somebody to manage those. The 3 biggest ways to move out of being in your business and always working in it is to address your hero complex, build a leadership team, and give them a plan to replace you. And on top of that, and just thinking about your kids, think ahead. Like, what are some of the things that they may be interested in? And okay, how can we best support them now while we're in our prime, while we're making the money? So that way, when they get where they need to be, that you can best support them in a way that works for everybody. So with all that being said, Lee, tell the people if they want to work with you, if we want to become one of these clients or get on the wait list, tell them all the contact info, best social media, anything you want to tell them.
All right, I got 2 websites. Marketingagencycoach.com is my primary coaching site. You can go there and learn all about my programs. Schedule a time, free consult if you want to, knock it out. And again, I won't try to pitch you. We'll just get into a call. If it's a good fit. And then, of course, I've got, in my opinion, the best lead generation system ever for agencies. It's called Agency Sonar, and that's the URL, agencysonar.com. It will absolutely double and quadruple your opportunities in any B2B business. And so if you're looking for more leads, check that one out. And there you go. That's 2 places, the best places to get me. So,
all right. You heard how to get in touch with them. So with all that being said, Lee, again, thank you for coming on. Guys, you heard all the good stuff on this episode. So if you think it's worth it, we ask that you share it, like it, subscribe it, tag some people that need to hear what is it like to get to that place or how to back yourself out of the company so that you can enjoy life and your family. So until the next episode, everybody stay safe, and we'll see you on the next episode.
See you. Thank y'all.